Hi everyone, I've just finished 10 days of diving in the Maldives. I'm currently sitting just outside of the main island of Malé. It's unusual to start a story at the end, but I wanted to get all of the information, I wanted to get all of the experience in before narrating what was quite a unique experience. The Maldives are situated off the south coast of India. It's a collection of small islands and atolls, close to Sri Lanka, close to India, and right in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's often thought of as a romantic island retreat, but none of us on this boat are interested in what's on the islands. We're more interested in what's going on under the ocean. Rather than staying in a hotel, I'm staying on a liverboard yacht, which is effectively a floating hotel. You don't get a big room, you get a small cabin, which is shared with another person. In this case, I'm sharing with my son. We have a dining room, which will provide you with breakfast, lunch and dinner. There's a lounge with a bar serving soft drinks, and it really is quite an amazing setup. We just live on board. We travel around the central and northern atolls of the Maldives, and then 3 times a day jump in the water, and some of the things I've seen have been quite amazing. Our liverboard has a separate boat which contains all of our dive gear for the trip, so for every trip we go on, we hop on this boat we call the Dhoni and go out to the various dive sites. Despite how things might look from the surface, visibility underwater isn't always great, especially not in August when we were travelling. And currents can be extremely strong, which can make dives quite challenging at times. It's often required for divers to use reef hooks to hook into patches of rock to stabilize themselves in strong current so they don't have to fight against it. So the Maldives isn't for complete novices. It is recommended that divers have the PADI Advanced Open Water certification and have a minimum of 30 dives behind them before they dive there. It is well worth the effort though, and I'm going to leave you just now with a collection of photos and videos I took on the trip. Feel free to peruse it if you wish. It is really well worth your effort getting out here and having the training to do it. These amazing creatures, by the way, are manta rays. They're the main reason I came out here to the Maldives, the reason I chose the Maldives as a location. I have a fascination with these creatures. If you were to ask me what alien life looks like on another planet, I think I would describe something a bit like this. They are incredibly intelligent fish and also outrageously majestic, and they can get to a magnificent size as well. So we didn't see as many on this trip as I'd hoped for, but the encounters we had with manta rays were magical nonetheless. What's interesting is we got closest to them when shining a light at the back of the boat to bring in plankton because they're filter feeders. These are quite incredible beasts. Back underwater, I was very keen to practice my underwater photography. I'm still not quite there with it. I was using strobes, hence the rich colour, but also catching an awful lot of particles in the water, which I would have to edit out, but I'm quite pleased with the results I got. Here, you're seeing the effects of drift diving. So this is just being pulled along by the current without doing any swimming at all. It was quite freaky to begin with, but those strong currents bring in sharks which like to have water flushing through their gills, and they aren't the only large creatures we saw on this trip. Maldives is well known for what we call macro life, like turtles, for example. While most of the sharks we saw on the trip were reef sharks, like blacktip reef sharks, grey reef sharks and white-tip reef sharks, we were lucky enough to meet a whale shark, the largest species of fish on the planet. This one was massive, but it was still only a young male, one of the smallest of the species. They get to about twice the length you see here. It really was quite impressive. Here we've got nurse sharks. This was a really exciting dive. We went down at dusk into the night, and the nurse sharks come in and they really want to engage with humans. They will sit on the sand, motionless, and wait for their noses to be rubbed. It really is quite amazing. There are some debates about whether this is the right way to engage with wild animals, whether it affects their natural behavior. And I see both sides of the argument, but at the moment I'm also very well aware that these sharks are now worth an awful lot more to the Maldives economy alive than they are dead and sold for meat. So whereas there are arguments against this kind of direct interaction with sharks, I think it's outweighed by the fact that this makes them a valuable asset for the tourist trade. When I first started diving, I remember talking to one of the instructors that was teaching me, and he'd just come back from the Maldives, and I asked him, what is there in the Maldives that is so attractive to divers? His response was, sharks. Lots and lots of sharks. And on that point, we certainly weren't disappointed. These are reef sharks, they're white-tip reef sharks. These were just milling about in the sea currents. They're just allowing the moving water to flush through their gills. And the stronger the current, the bigger the sharks you'll see in the Maldives. Now, while I said we didn't see many mantas while diving, there was a really nice occasion where 3 came to play after a dive and we jumped in to snorkel with them. They really were very curious about people and very keen to interact. Similar to this octopus, which seemed to be hiding, to master of camouflage, but really wasn't too worried about being seen. It was more interested in us than in trying to get away. The final dive of the trip took place just outside the main harbour at Malé, which is the big island in the Maldives, and this is where we saw more great sharks, this eagle ray, which was absolutely stunning, and along the periphery of our vision, with quite a limited visibility, we saw some quite big sharks circling. This is a spinner shark, which we saw for quite a few minutes. It came in quite interested. It was quite large. You'll see a video of it in a moment. This is a guitar shark, which is quite bizarre, kind of almost like a cross between a shark and a ray. There's the spinner shark again, and there was also somewhere in the background apparently a tiger shark, but it didn't come close and I didn't unfortunately get to see it. And here, a great hammerhead that we saw for a minute or two. Again, didn't come very close, but really gave us a good show. And lots and lots and lots of stingrays. They were varying in size. Some of them were absolutely massive. and they have absolutely no qualms about people at all. So that's it. That's my video log of the Maldives. I'm hoping to get back there again someday, but there's also an awful lot of world to visit. So look out for the next video log of the next place I get to.